The movie begins with a group of candidates arriving for the final stage of a job interview at a powerful and mysterious company. They are seated in a windowless room and given an 80-minute exam with the instructions provided by a man known as the Invigilator. They cannot communicate with him or the guard, spoil their papers, or leave the room. Any violation of these rules will result in immediate disqualification. After the Invigilator leaves, they discover that their exam papers are blank and the tension begins to rise as they attempt to decipher the question and the means to answer it. The candidates start by observing the rules and try different methods to uncover the question. As the time goes by, a young man gets agitated and remembers exactly what the Invigilator said. He realizes that he didn't say they're not allowed to discuss within themselves. He tells the group and it's evident he's right because the guard doesn't react to him talking to the other candidates. They agree to help each other, but they know what they are there for. They decide to give each other aliases, which they name the first guy as Black, the second White, the third Brown, the fourth is Blonde, the fifth is Brunette, the sixth is Dark and the seventh is Deaf. White gets up and asks everyone for any ideas to what the question is. Brunette suggests the papers are written in invincible ink, and puts her paper on a light, but it's clear there's nothing. They brainstorm to what they should do. White checks for any answers on his paper, as well as everyone else, but they hit a dead end. White gets annoyed at Deaf for not participating at all. They decide to look for other alternatives. Black tells everyone he has an idea and says maybe there is a light they can't see. Brunette agrees and they look all over the place for any light. Blonde assumes they should trigger the lights within the wall, but Black tells her they're emergency lights. They decide to break all the lights in the room so they can trigger the lights that are within the walls. Luckily it works and they all check their papers, but unfortunately they still get no answers. Dark tells everyone they should break those lights too because there's a layer within the bulbs. Black breaks his half and recognizes the material. He tells everyone to destroy the other lights too. They carefully break the bulbs and the light changes again. They all check for answers, but still they get no luck. They get frustrated and seek for other alternatives. Brown thinks it's odd that they're all put in a room and promised a job at a powerful and mysterious company, especially with them coming from different ethnicities. He assumes this is all just a sick game that powerful people play to test them out. Dark dismisses his claims and says this isn't just any ordinary selection process because she's sure that they're all special and that's why they were chosen. Brown asks her how is she sure. He presses her and she tells everyone that she heard there was a vacancy and then she applied, but not everyone applied. Brown asks the group that applied what they know about the CEO. Dark tells Brown that 10 years ago people started dying, then the company that they are applying for intervened and offered to help. The company managed to help out all in need. In a few months their company grossed over $1 billion in revenues in just as little as a year. Black assumes the company is big enough for them to be each given jobs. Brunette decides to look for other alternatives by approaching the guard and reaching for his pockets. She takes out a lighter and tells everyone they should try to wet their paper and maybe answers can develop through their pages. She puts a table underneath the sprinklers and puts on the lighter. As she waits to trigger it, White gives her a paper to burn. Oblivious to White's cunning nature, she burns it and the smoke triggers the sprinklers. They check for any sign of words, but it's clear they're wrong again. Brunette looks for her paper and the guard approaches her as she burned her own paper. She cusses at White for blindsiding her to burn her own paper. Black gets angry at him and tries to attack him, only for the lights to go out when he told White he's going to knock his lights out. Brown realizes the room is voice activated and lights the room up. Blonde tells everyone to watch what they say. Deaf gets emotional. White gets annoyed at him for not helping the group and forces him to rip his paper apart so he can disqualify himself since he's not helping anyone. Deaf does that and the guard gets him out. Everyone realizes how insensitive he is. He tells everyone he's found what the question is. Black asks him what it is, but he refuses to tell anyone. Black is forced to knock him out and says White's an enemy of the group because he only wants to exploit them so they don't need him. He ties him to his chair and decide they should get him out the room. Blonde reminds everyone what the Invigilator said, which was if they choose to leave the room, you will be out, which means if anyone chooses to get rid of White, they will also get disqualified. White tells everyone he needs his medication that he has to take every hour, but everyone doesn't believe him. Black decides to give him a taste of his own medicine. He tells him if he starts to get worse in any way, then they will help him. Brown approaches Dark and tells her he thinks she's a plant because of all the information she has about the company. Blonde intervenes and says they all can be plants and pleads to everyone to work together since time is running out. Brown tells everyone he's going to prove that Dark is a plant. He ties her in her chair and tells her to confess all that she knows. She answers and tells him she does work in the company, but she heard of the opening position and decided to apply. Brown tells her to tell them more. She promises she's not lying about anything else. Brown doesn't buy it and gets a paper. He tells her he'll slice her thigh if she doesn't tell the truth. She panics and Brown lifts up her skirt only to see marks on her. He assumes she has problems at home, but clearly he doesn't care and forces her to talk. She gets emotional and tells him she doesn't know. He slices her thigh. Black tries to stop him, but he punches him and warns him not to intervene. He promises he'll slice her eye if she doesn't talk. Dark cries her eyes out and promises she doesn't know anything. Brown realizes she's telling the truth and walks away. Blonde unties her and hands her a band-aid. A few seconds later, they notice White having convulsions and realize he's really sick. Blonde tells everyone to take the pill out if they took it. They decide to search each other, but they get nothing. Dark approaches Brown's table and finds a pill stuck under the table. As she tries to give him the pill, Brown stops her and slaps the pill out of her hand. They try reaching for the pill through the drain, but clearly they can't get to it. Dark decides to look for help in the outside and asks the guard and the company to help. Forgetting about the second rule, which is do not communicate with the guard or anyone outside the room, the guard drags her out and eliminates her. Meanwhile, Blonde manages to pull the pill out the drain and sticks it in White's mouth. It immediately begins to have an effect on him. Black asks him if he can hear them, but White cusses at him. They untie him and Black tells him to thank Blonde for saving him, but being the jerk that he is, he refuses and gets up. Brown reminds him of his promise and says he must tell everyone what the question is, since he said he'll tell them only if they give him the pill. He tells everyone that there is no question because he doesn't know too. He assumes the answer is one of them, meaning only one is allowed to win. He quickly runs to the guard to retrieve his gun, but fortunately, Black stops him and gets the gun for himself. As time runs out, White approaches him and tells him this isn't worth unaliving someone. But Black doesn't trust him and pulls the trigger, only for it to be a fingerprinted ID. They fight over the gun and White stabs him in the arm and gets the gun. He quickly goes up to the guard and uses his arm to aim. Brown decides to walk out, in fear he'll be unalived. White tells Black to get out as well. He tries to talk to him, but clearly White has his mind made up and forces him to leave the room now. Blonde decides to walk out before witnessing bloodshed. As she walks out, she tells Black something and walks to the door. She gets the lights to go off and hides herself, only for White to shoot Black. He approaches the doorway to force Blonde out, but as he gets closer the time goes off and saves Blonde. He walks up to the glass and tells the company he deserves to be taken in, but the guard shows him his time, only for the game to be a few seconds from ending, meaning he gets disqualified for communicating with them. The lights turn on in the other room, showing the Invigilator. Blonde picks up Def's glasses as she has an idea. She looks through it only to see an answer written on his paper. Def walks in. Blonde approaches him and gives him his glasses. The Invigilator walks up behind and offers her the job. The Invigilator tells Blonde that Def is a very important asset to the company. They put him in the room with them so he can decide who is fit for the job in terms of their morals, and she was chosen from the get-go. Make sure to like and subscribe for more notifications. Until next time, see you soon.